So welcome officially to our November huddle. This is what we're going to go over. We're going to give a little update about the General Assembly lawsuits. And if Colin isn't here right now, we can do that at the end. That's fine. Lisa's going to tell us what's happening with congressional maps and the hearings and about giving testimony. Chris is going to talk to us about using Dave's redistricting to look at the maps more closely and see how they affect your neighborhood. We're going to go over some current actions and some upcoming actions, some new ones. And that's about it. And Colin is here. So Colin, well, actually, of course, as usual, we'll be sending these slides, and we just included pictures of the 4 maps in question at the very beginning of the slide so you can see them. Because right now there are 4 maps that are being discussed. There are 2 maps in the Senate, a Republican and a Democratic map in the Senate, and you see those here. And then there are 2 maps in the House. I'm sorry, sometimes my computer does that. It likes to get slow, and then it doesn't want to share the correct slides. Oh, there we go. There's the House. And when we have the Senate maps as well that you already saw, and those will be included, and you'll get to see them when you see these slides. So here is Colin talking about an update on the lawsuits for the General Assembly maps.
Well, thank you, Mia. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for taking your time to be here with us. And whew, what a whirlwind of the last 10 days in the redistricting space. It has really been, very fast paced, a lot of moving parts. And I want to just give a shout out to, all of my colleagues here, Mia, Catherine, Jen, Chris, and all of our wonderful volunteers and you all that have continued to show out and show up during these hearings. It really is, just a testament to your desire to see, fairness in the state, and how you will not sit idly by and let that not happen. So I just want to say hats off to everybody here. Real quick, it's going to be a brief update tonight on the redistricting lawsuits. The biggest thing currently happening right now is that today is the final briefing deadline for us and for All on the Line and for the Ohio Organizing Collaborative. This is the reply brief submission deadline. So we know on October 29th, we filed our original merit briefs. Then this past Friday, the respondents issued their reply briefs, answering the assertions and accusations that we made. And then we have a final opportunity to rebut the accusations or the responses that were filed this past Friday by the defendants. As of yet, only the Ohio Organizing Collaborative has filed their brief, which again can be found on the Ohio Supreme Court's website. If you go to, you can do a keyword search in the docket tracker. If you do Ohio Organizing Collaborative, it should pop right up for you. And their reply brief is going to be all the way down to the bottom of the page. I know for a fact our lawyers and our legal team are still fine-tuning our submission, making sure that all of their I's are dotted, T's are crossed, everything's cited properly. So those will be filed later this evening. But, essentially, again, we're not really going to be giving any surprises in our reply. We pretty much established our case. We've presented the evidence. A key part of that is Dr. Amai's. I talked about this in an earlier session. We had a Harvard professor come run a algorithm to generate 5,000 sample General Assembly maps, and surprise, surprise, the enacted map was a statistical outlier in 4 mainstream categories for measuring gerrymandering, empirically measuring gerrymandering. They were all statistical outliers against the 5,000 sample maps that Dr. Amai's algorithm was able to produce. Again, just further demonstrating and showing, the effort that went into creating this enacted map and how much of a unconstitutional partisan gerrymander it really is. Following this evening, the next thing we're going to want to be looking out for is a decision from the Ohio Supreme Court on whether or not to allow the other two lawsuits brought by All on the Line and the Ohio Organizing Collaborative. There's currently a pending decision to see if they should get their own oral argument time during the hearing on December 8th. That stemmed from an original aspect of their complaint where they alleged different constitutional violations rather than only the Article 11, Section 6 violations, which we've all come to know, pretty much at the top of our head. The other two lawsuits allege additional violations relating to equal protection, freedom of assembly, freedom of, freely participating in your own self-government. So we don't know when this decision will come down from the Supreme Court, but we do know that that it should be coming any day now. And then we are pretty much in a holding pattern until, December 8th, when it's going to be high noon in these cases, and we go before the Ohio Supreme Court to make our cases heard. So that's pretty much where we stand. Again, kind of a shorter update, but please be on the lookout this evening or tomorrow when you have a chance. Hopefully everybody's got restful and relaxing Veterans Day plans for tomorrow. And hopefully you can take just a brief little bit of time out of your day tomorrow to go onto the Supreme Court's website, read our reply brief so you're as up to speed as everybody on these cases and on these developments. So again, I'm happy to try to answer any questions, or we can wait till the end. I'll leave it to Mia, however you want to organize this.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I have a quick question, which is, so after the oral arguments on December 8th, what's approximately the timeline when we would expect there to be some sort of response from the court?
Well, to be fair, I really don't know. I don't think anybody really knows when a decision will be handed down. All I can reasonably estimate is that it will be relatively soon afterwards, in order for any sort of, remapping or redo the Ohio Redistricting Commission will have to do. In the Constitution, they have a 30-minute window following any order from the Ohio Supreme Court.
30-minute?
30-day, I'm sorry.
30 day. Okay.
30-day, I apologize. I feel like we're just working in 30-minute increments all day.
Right.
But no, they'll have 30 days to respond. And when I say respond, I mean draw another map that is then either approved by the Supreme Court, or they would, I'm assuming in their order that they would issue, they would have some sort of evaluation mechanism involved. So, they wouldn't just be able to redraw another gerrymandered map after this order. But again, unfortunately, I don't have a hard date that we all can circle on our calendars, but I am reasonably assured that a decision would come in short order, whether that be, a week, 10 days, what have you, is still yet to be seen.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Well, if folks have questions, why don't they put them in the chat? And then we can talk about that more towards the end. So that's the General Assembly maps. And now Lisa's going to talk to us about what's going on with our congressional maps and the hearings, et cetera.
Great. Thank you so much, Mia. We know that there have been hearings happening this week. Thank you so much to everyone who has attended the hearings and come and testify or submitted testimony or watched online. I know this is a tough process and a frustrating process. So your voices are extremely important. And I know some of you have made some Herculean efforts to attend the hearings. There's this new committee, the Joint Committee on Congressional Redistricting. So they just sort of announced this committee and that they are having hearings. They had a hearing today. And then what we're focused on is packing the hearing room on Friday. So I'm going to throw out a lot of numbers and information here. So I'll try to go as clearly and slowly as I can. So this Friday at 10:30 a.m. in room 313, there will be the committee hearing on the maps. And they just announced, so this is an update from earlier this week, that they're going to consider the 4 maps listed here. So that's the House Dem map, the House GOP map, the Senate Dem map, and the Senate GOP map. We have links to all of those maps. I will say the House Dem, or I think the House GOP map, no, it's the Dem map that we don't have the map for yet. So the actual visual, which Mia covered earlier. So if you're able to testify, that is wonderful. We don't know if this will be the last hearing. So this may be our last hurrah. We're kind of trying to treat it like that to get your testimony in. They've been a little bit of a stickler on when we're submitting testimony. So try to get it in 24 hours in advance. We've listed the chairwoman's email address, and then you need to also submit a witness slip. And so you make a copy of the witness slip, and then you can fill it out and submit that with your testimony. So, and if you've given testimony previously to a House or Senate committee on the congressional maps, we've gotten notice that the testimony before will be transferred to this joint committee. So you don't have to do it again. You can always send it to your own personal legislator too, to let them know that your feelings about the map. So if you really want to stay up to date, just because they're announcing things in the hearing, so you can ask to be added to these, to the lists for the committee. And so you'll get the notices right away via email. So I saw Iris had a question in there about a witness slip. You need to submit a witness slip regardless of if you were giving testimony in person or just written testimony. And this is just to clarify, the testimony that will be transferred are if you have given it on congressional maps, so not the state maps and not when the state hearings were happening, not to the Redistricting Commission. So this is just in the past, I guess, week, 2 weeks. I've lost track of time because things are moving so quickly. These are the hearings that are coming up. They're covering the 4 maps. We wish there was one proposal, but there's not. So that's our reality. And we can express our frustrations with this. Did I miss anything on the hearing?
I don't think so, but as far as I understand it, you only need a witness slip if you're testifying in person. I don't think if you're submitting written testimony, you don't need to do a witness slip.
Okay, I always just fill one out.
Yeah.
Then I write written testimony.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
Okay, so, I think I covered the major points here. So let's talk about, so that's what we know. So let's talk about honestly what we don't know. And that's part of the lack of transparency. I'm personally really angry about it. There's no excuse for it. So we don't know if there's going to be more hearings next week. They've been silent during the hearings happening this week about what's going on. We don't know what kind of committees they're going to be in. If it's going to be this joint committee, will they make a new committee? Will they just keep moving the ball around? We don't know. And part of this is because there are 4 different maps. We expected different maps from the Democrats and the Republicans, but honestly, I didn't expect a different map from the House and the Senate GOP. So that means that they don't agree, in my professional opinion. So we don't know what they're gonna land on. And so what that will be, the final proposed map, we just don't know what that will look like. But we do at least know what they're working with, what we're working towards, and what they're working with now. The GOP maps are not great. And we don't know if these hearings actually count towards the constitutionally required 2 hearings. So in the reforms, they are required to have these 2 hearings on the proposed maps, but there's a lot of technicality with that. They are claiming that these are the 2 constitutionally required hearings. I would say that we generally don't agree with that assessment because there's no, this is the map. There's no official map. So these, again, we don't know where they're going to land on that. So we will remind them of that. And again, this is the first time we're using the reforms. So we're learning these things. We're learning a lot of things, aren't we? So we're also
Lisa, there was one thing that occurred to me that we should alert people to, because I did not know this until I got to the Senate committee hearing. And I didn't know this before the joint committee today, that speakers are limited to 5 minutes.
Thank you.
I just, I keep going back to that and thinking, so when you think about all the things that we don't know, they have just told us all of these things just at kind of the last minute. It wasn't until earlier today that we were told, hey, oh, by the way, you can testify at today's hearing. When Speaker Cupp was asked yesterday, like whether, what they were going to do with these 2 hearings, he was like, I'm just not really clear. The Constitution's just not really that clear. So one of the things that is, we don't have as much, we just don't have the kind of information that you would expect.
Right.
Thank you, Catherine. Yeah, this is, it's frustrating and got to work with what we got. I feel like I still had something else on there, Mia. Can you go back up?
Yeah.
Sorry. So we don't.
Sorry.
I know how that goes. You just start toggling and it keeps going. Okay, so we also don't have all the maps in the Dave Redistricting map, which helps us zoom in and know our communities. That we will be at least talking about how we can work with what we got. So we don't know how we access that. Catherine was mentioning earlier that I think Gavrone was trying to explain how to access things today in committee, and it was like a 7-step process. So as soon as we can get the information, we're trying to make sure we distribute that to you all, so at least it's accessible and usable, because we're just relying on kind of still images for some of the maps. They also haven't been clear about the partisan index. The GOP hasn't, that they're using for their maps, and the partisan index just shows, registered Democrats and registered Republicans in a district. So that would, be used for something like gerrymandering, and we just they don't have that information. They're not making it available. So that's been a long time concern for us as well. Catherine, do you have anything to add?
So this is the perfect segue leading to Chris, because of course, this is Chris Kuzak, who's going to be talking about, okay, when we don't have access to these things, because it's essentially, explaining the district lines in a narrative fashion, like what do we actually do? So when he goes through, when Mia shared links today, she was sharing the links to the bills. One of the things that happened is that the Senate Democrats' bill has been amended, but we don't actually have the link to that yet. As soon as we get that, and hopefully we'll get that, before we send a follow-up to you, it's just been a real challenge to do the kind of investigation of maps that you might normally do. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Mia to introduce Chris.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry. One other thing, we were just going to talk about the hearing on Friday. Lisa was going to.
Sorry.
Actually, there's a few more things Lisa was going to cover. So go ahead, Lisa.
So it was a valiant attempt, Catherine, to transition. So in addition, if you can't make it on Friday, we're doing a Twitter storm. So this seems to be the best way to influence legislators at this point, besides being there in person. So you can tweet that you're at the hearing. You can tag your legislators. So it's going to start at 10:30 a.m. on Friday. So now's a great time to start a Twitter account. And so just in case there's some folks on here who are finally ready to give testimony, just keep your testimony very specific. Make sure you mention the maps, mention your community, and that's your stories in a very succinct, one-page version of that. So what makes your community and why you think it's important, and how the maps don't address what you feel like your community needs.
Yeah.
So you can also reference maps that from our competition winners. And when we say reference, we mean reference in a positive light, because even though they aren't perfect, they did meet statistical qualifications for what are considered the best maps. So just relax and be passionate, and thank them, as frustrating as it is. I hear you, Holly. They haven't been super respectful towards us. And I think the best thing that we can do, it's always this balance that you play as an advocate of how we, even though they work for us, which we can remind them of that, what is the most effective way to get through to them? I realize they're not listening, right? But how would you get them to perk up? How would you, and when we maybe yell at them or call them stupid, that they turn their ears off right away. So just to remind them that we're watching and that we know that our communities are important. So thank you to everyone who has done this already. I know it's a long day and snacks are important. And you can also turn your testimony and submit it to your letter to the editor, because legislative aides do read that and show that to their representatives. Okay,
I was going to tell you my favorite part of the testimony today was after Gavarone said, that Marcy Kaptur's district was essentially made for her, that it was something she wanted, and Trevor gets up and says, no, it put two Democratic incumbents against one another. Anyway, that was my favorite. So one of the things, as we're thinking about testimony, there's like the written testimony, but there's also the pushing back on some of the things that they say that you shouldn't feel like you absolutely have to stick with what you put on paper. that if you're hearing nonsense, and obviously respectfully push back is useful. But I do think that it isn't exactly a conversation, but I appreciated Trevor Martin pointing out what was essentially nonsense. And I once again, like, one of the things I was also going to say, Sue Kavanaugh, who's on this call, literally had an accident. She hurt herself, and she still managed to get all the way to the State House to testify using a mop, essentially as a cane. So one of the things I was going to say, I've just been so impressed with like the passion, you all are showing, and thank you so much for showing up. And I am looking forward to seeing you at the State House on Friday.
Friday. And to address Sue Dean's question about if they're snarky to us, I have certainly taken my fair share of snark from legislators. And what I usually do as a tactic is I take a breath, and then I remember what I'm there to say, and say, I'm here because I want my voice heard, and I'm here to talk about this. And it's frustrating that you can't like ask them questions. That's not the decorum. And but the best way to do it is to not engage with them in their snark, because then they just look like jerks.
Yeah.
That would be my advice.
Yeah. Probably not. Anyway, thank you so much. We are really hoping to pack that room on Friday, packing it with testimony, packing it with written testimony, packing it with just supporters who are there. And then, of course, if you're not there, that you're watching on the Ohio channel and tweeting out all along. That will be super, super important and fantastic. And we appreciate it. And now we're going to go over to Chris, who's going to talk to us about Dave's and how we can use it to help us understand these maps.
Hey, thank you very much, Mia. Hello, everybody. So everyone's been using Dave's Redistricting app, and you can just Google Dave's Redistricting, and you'll find the link to this website. And it's got very, very strong analytical capabilities, but it also lets you zoom in and play around and sort of figure out your neighborhood and what will these lines mean to you. And so if you just go to Dave's for the first time, this is what you would see. You could click on the state of Ohio, and you'll see they've got so I mean, if you just click on the state of Ohio, you'll get to here, and you see they've got the existing congressional map and Senate and House maps. And then you can see down below, where I put a little box around it, the new plans that have been adopted but are not yet implemented. So you can click on that link, and we can go ahead and click, and so it'll show you, for example, the state House and the state Senate, adopted on September 15th, 2021. And so if you want to look at those maps, this is a way to access them. What I'm going to look at here is one of the congressional maps to use, just to give a little bit of background and just a little oversight into Dave's. It's pretty intuitive. It's pretty user-friendly. You're not going to break anything if you push a button or click on something. So there's no fear index involved. And so this is the Republican House map that has been proposed, and we'll have links to the congressional proposed maps by the Dems and the Republicans in just a few slides once I finish talking. But so this is what you would get if you click on the link and you see Ohio House Bill 479, and you can see on the lower left the districts that says map colors, and that box is checked. And so what we're going to do is I'm just going to show a few things that could happen if you click on some different boxes. So if you wanted to see, well, which districts would be Republican leaning and which would be Democrat leaning, you could click on the partisan lean box just to the right of the map colors box. So we'll advance the slide, and we'll see, by clicking on partisan lean, we can see this map creates two incredibly strong Democrat districts, a number, I can't tell right here, of very strong Republican districts, a couple of safe Republican districts, and a couple of lean Republican districts. So ultimately, you would have, out of 15, you would have two Democrat districts and 13 Repub districts. Again, 1 or 2 of those districts being very, very tight. But this would show you, that the lean in terms of if the voter turnout, it was the same, right? Because all these 13 other reddish or very dark red districts have more Republicans than Democrats. So if voter turnout is equal, then there's more Republicans in 13 out of the 15 districts. So sometimes you'd say, well, I don't want to look at the counties. That's sort of cluttering. I'd like to be able to see the districts a little better. You can, below everything, you can see the overlays link. And so you see the word overlays down below. And so we click on that and it will take us to the next slide. And we can see that pops up, right? So each one of these things can pop up or down if you don't want to see it. But so this gives us some more options. And so let's say we don't want to see the county lines. You could just click in that box where it says county lines and turn them off. So we pretend we clicked in the box, and then the next slide will show us that voila, the county lines have disappeared. So again, just sometimes you want to see the county lines, how many county splits are there, but sometimes maybe you're just trying to see the districts themselves. Again, you can turn off the district lines, you can turn off the numbers by turning off the labels tab and so on. So there's quite a bit to be able to play around with, and all you're doing is pointing and clicking. If we wanted to do a little bit more, we could see some additional information. So if we go to the next slide, we'll see that, thank you. I've just gone back to the map colors under the districts tab. We can see we've gone from partisan lean back to map colors. And in the upper left, sort of, there's the little plus and minus. And so what we can do, if you want to, is zoom into, you can also use, if you have a little roller on your mouse in between the right click and left click, you can just roll forward to zoom in or roll back to zoom out, and use that, your cursor will become the hand, the pan tool, and you can move about if you needed to zoom into Akron or zoom into Cincinnati or wherever. But you could also click a couple of times and then move the map over by using the hand tool, and then click a few more times and zoom in. So if we wanted to zoom in and see what's going on right in the middle of the state, right in Columbus, we could pretend we zoomed in by using that click, and we can see, okay, so we've got Columbus and it's split. And you might be like, well, I can't really see what's underneath it. It's a little bit difficult to make out the streets. And so if we go back to our colors over on the left-hand side, we can see there's an opacity slider. And you can just slide that back and forth. And if you slide it to the left, it makes things more transparent. And so if we wanted to see the underneath background map, the next slide we'll see the opacity slider is a little bit over to the left. We can, the colors are faded out. And so now you can see, different, districts and different street names and things like that a little bit easier. So, I mean, you could zoom in, even further. This is all I've gotten to in terms of the zoom for this presentation, but you can zoom in certainly quite a bit more. And then if we want to, that's not all we can see. You can also, it has some, not just partisanship, but it also has demographic information. And so, we're looking at, we can see where the line is between these two districts. And if we go to the next slide, we can see if we look again under colors, we don't have map colors selected anymore. We've clicked and it says all minorities. So we're looking at minority percentages. And so that way you can sort of tease out, are the maps trying to crack, or are they trying to pack minority voters? And is this to, disenfranchise or to enfranchise? You can actually sort of see what's going on zoomed in using the minority percentage. And you'll look over on the left, it says all minorities. It has a little drop down arrow. You could, if you wanted just Black or just Hispanic or just whatever. So really it just takes a few minutes of play and zooming in and out and turning things on and off. And you can get a really pretty good sort of assessment of what's going on with the map. Beyond that, there's got a lot of analytical information to it. And so if you look in the upper right, I don't have the map depressed anymore. I clicked on the statistics tab, and these tabs are there no matter what. They were there from the map, they're there for statistics analyzed. And here's the statistics. And it says down below at the bottom here, 9 districts lean Republican, 2 lean Democrat, and 4, Dave's considers anything between 45 and 55% to be competitive. But you can click on any one of these column headings, Dem, Rep, Other, Total, White, Minority, whatever. So if I just click on the Republican, and that sorts it from biggest to smallest, right? So the next slide will show when I clicked on the Republican header, whoop, darn, it does not, there it is. Okay, so you can see everything sorted. And so even though Dave's considers things between 45 and 55% as competitive, we can see what it considers competitive is, 52.8 to 44.78. So you're looking at a, whatever, 6-8 point range, another 8-point advantage for Republicans. And so I think those are obviously pretty darn safe Republican districts. So, and then we have these other 2, which are a little bit closer, just 2 or 3 percentage points, but still advantage Republicans. And that's why in the beginning, when we looked at the partisan map, we saw 13-2. So yes, even though it says, 9-2 with 4 competitive, really these 4 competitive all lean Republican. And we can see the 2 Democrat are very strong and also have very high minority percentages if we look over to the right. And so, but you could click on any one of these column headings and sort from top to bottom, biggest number to smallest based on that header. So that's what statistics is. Then we can click on the Analyze tab, and this gives us a nice little graphic to show 5 major metrics of gerrymandering. And the bigger the green area, the better, right? So these range from 0 to 100. And we can see for proportionality, which is representational fairness, which in this case, based on voting percentages, it should be 8 Republican districts and 7 Democrat districts instead of 13-2. So it actually scores a 0, and it's impossible to get a negative number. So you can't do any worse in representational fairness. We see some middling numbers for everything else. And so we can see like splitting. And what we can do is you would just here scroll down and it would give you a little bit of more information about each one of these metrics. And so I've just scrolled to the bottom on the next slide and we can see what is a 34? What does that mean for splitting? And it tells us that's it gets a bad score. And it tells us 12 counties are split 16 times, which isn't terrible, but this does affect almost a quarter of the people in Ohio. So that's where it gets a bad score. It shouldn't be affecting 25% of the state. And again, maybe you need to split 14 precincts in addition to some counties to get equal populations, but here they split 63. So then that raises the question, okay, which of these precincts did they split and why and where are they and how does that obviously advantage themselves, whoever made the map. But they do this for compactness, for competitiveness, for minority representation. For each one of this, you would just scroll down. If we had clicked on the next tab at the top, it's comparing. And so what I've done is I've taken, no, this is perfect. I've taken their map and I compared it to our Fair Districts Mapping Competition winning map. And you can see bigger is better. So the score is a lot closer to 100 than the House Republican map. And so, it's clear, right? It's not that they couldn't make a better map. It's they drew the map they wanted to make and it scored poorly. And so you would have to select on the right-hand side, you can pick a map and you can choose a map to sort of compare against. That gets into the weeds just a little bit, but it is an option. And then the last click at the top is the advanced. And I don't do much with the advanced, but the compactness gets an overall score and the compactness got a middling score. I can't remember if it was 34 or 45 or whatever, but this gives us ratings for all 15 districts. You can see ID 1 to 15 on the bottom, or on the left-hand side, I apologize. And then 3 mathematical testings. And you can look at the ratings of each one of these, and this gibberishy KIWI just means know it when you see it. And so the ratings range from 0 to 100. And so even though this map got a middling score from compactness overall, we can see District 11 scores very high. And well, that's Cleveland, right? And Cleveland can't be split. And so that's, that's going to get a, very compact score. But if we look at District 1, 0, 9, and 8, terrible, terrible district. So then we could click back on our map button and see, well, which district was District 1? And, why is that gets such a low score? And so if we go to the next slide, we can see what have we done? Well, and there's District 1, and obviously it was purposeful. It includes all of Cincinnati, but how can we dilute the voting power of Cincinnati and the people who live in Cincinnati, who are, a fair percentage or minority? We can sort of snake it and connect it to another county, which is overwhelmingly white and Republican. So this district actually leans Republican, very slight lean Republican. And so what we've done, if you look in the upper left, you can see the number 1 district, there's the little button, it's pushed, right? That radio button is pushed. And below it, where it says colors, I've clicked on only current. And so you can see because it's easy to make that pop out. If I have all the map colors showing, it's a little bit harder to, see District 1. I wanted to see just District 1. So I clicked on the only current. So that's really all there is to it. You can get into Dave's, you can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can look at partisan lean, you can look at demographics and minority percentages. You can get some scoring and statistical information using these tabs at the top right, and really sort of figure out how is this going to affect you, your community, your neighborhood, and especially sort of even go down to a street by street level basis. And so that's what I had for this little brief overview of a presentation. But nobody should feel like you need to have computer science degree or coding or programming background. Really just sort of click and play around, and you can really figure it out pretty quickly on your own. And then the next slide just has, I think Mia's put in all the links to the 4 proposed maps as they are. We haven't, as Catherine and Lisa and others have said, we haven't seen the amended maps yet. Whoop, whoop,
you know
whoop.
what? Colin had it, and so I have added the amendment to Senate Bill 237, a link for that. And so we will get you the most up to date that we can.
Perfect.
Great. And Chris, I don't know, we'll talk to you later about it, but I think folks would love to have like just a little one short page summary of like, what are the good points or bad points about each map? Like this one is an 8-7 and it keeps communities together. And this one is a 15-2 and it's outrageous, or, just so that people kind of understand from this kind of analysis perspective, what they're like. But just to kind of comment on that, even though we're happy to share that with you, what's really important is that, we let folks like Chris testify on this kind of information, and you guys testify on what the map means for you and your community. So that when they ask you difficult questions afterwards, you can answer about your community, and we'll let the geographers answer on the geography. So, that's important. Okay, well, thank you so much, Chris. And if folks have questions, put them in the chat. Susan Kavanaugh, do we have to limit testimony to 1 map? That is definitely what Gavarone was doing previously in these joint hearings. I don't think you do have to, but you're only going to get 5 minutes no matter how many maps you're talking about. That's what she said today. I'm going to go a little...
Although Jen and I testified and we got 10 minutes by putting 2 of us up there at the same time.
Right, 2 people got 10 minutes.
It's a little bit of a loophole. Yeah,
2 people got 10 minutes, but 1 person talking about 2 maps just got 5 minutes. So I don't understand that. Anyway, I'm going to go a little bit quickly now because I know it's late and we all want to go off and do other things, but we do have 2 new actions if you haven't seen them yet. One is to your Ohio rep and one is to your Ohio senator, just asking them to vote against these maps. And of course, we're always encouraging folks to write a letter to the editor. And then we have an idea for a new action that we want to talk to you about real quickly right now. So, it's been pointed out all along that all of these hearings have been during the day, during the weekday. when people are working, not even in the evening, in Columbus, super inconvenient for people who are working, for parents, for people who don't live in Central Ohio. And so we wanted to have a way for everybody to be able to participate in an action to show their support for fair districts without having to go, long distances far away or do something that, skip work or, whatever. So we're going to have a honk and wave on November 20th. And we're looking for folks to set up their own events wherever you are in your own community. And it doesn't have to be complicated and it doesn't have to be elaborate. It could literally be you and your kids, or you and your neighbors, or, you and a couple of people from your action group or your league or your indivisible group or whatever it is. And you're standing on a busy corner for a little bit of time, and you've got some honk for fair map signs. You've got some of our fair district signs. And then you're going to tweet us those pictures, and you're going to tag fair districts or fair maps and end gerrymandering Ohio, and you're going to at your legislators and encourage them to vote for fair maps. And that's really all there is to it. But you've probably seen this before in Action Network, where you can either search Action Network to find the event that's closest to you, or you can sign up to host your own event if there isn't one close to you. And so what we wanted to do right now, so this is the Action Network thing you'll see. Right now, we just have one event. And so if you can put your zip code in here to find an event near you, or you can click to host your own event. And what we're going to do, Sue, are you ready? Sudine.
I'm here. Sorry.
You're fine. Are you ready to share your screen?
Sure.
Okay.
Sue it still looks awful, but anyway. All my open tabs. Hang on.
Because I can also share and...
I'm good.
You good? Okay.
Yeah.
I love that Sue has agreed to be guinea pig.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and I haven't done this yet.
Okay, so what Sue is going to do is, if she wants to host her own event, she's going to click on this host an event for this campaign. Right down there. So no, here, you're good. That's good. Yeah, there you go. And then this is some guidelines, which you can read, which basically says, we're doing our thing. And then you can title your event. Honk and wave. But maybe one that says your neighborhood or something. There you go. And then you're going to put the start time. It's on the 20th, hopefully. And you can say whatever time you want. That's it. Then you just, it didn't take. So try it again. There you go. And then there. And then you have to click on that. Sorry, once it gives you that date, you have to actually click on it. So try one more time. And yeah, so on the 20th, and then the time, and then click on the thing that's highlighted. There you go, the time you want, whatever time it is.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the location, name or address, name and.
Well, I mean, okay, so my question is, do I just put like, does it have to be an official location name? Like if it's a street corner?
No, you definitely have to have an address. What I did for mine was I put corner, High, and North Broadway, and then I put an address that was right at that corner. You do have to find an actual address. There you go. And then do you have an actual address on either of those streets?
I just had to look it up.
Okay, well, why don't you make one up for now and you can edit it.
I'll put my home address.
Okay. That's it. City.
I know that. Oops.
That's it. And you can put your contact if you want. You don't have to. Okay. And then underneath, you can edit this. This is what I put in. You can edit it if you want. You can add your email, whatever. And then at the very bottom, you can say save and go to next step. And then there's a little message, instructions for your, scroll down a little bit more. And you can edit this part as well if you want. I just put that in, but you can put in whatever you like.
I'm just making stuff up.
That's fine. And because you'll have an opportunity to edit it later.
Well, in 2018, I made these fairly frequently. And one of the nice things is you can go back and edit it almost immediately.
Yeah, you absolutely can. And then you say save and publish. Okay, bring a sign. Dress for the weather. Okay, great. And then right here, it's going to say view event or edit event. And so if you were to click on, just scroll up again for a second. Yeah, if you were to click on edit event, which don't do that, but if you did that, you could change any of the details that you just had, like the address or anything. And if you click on view event, click on view event for a second, down underneath beach, walled, honk and wave. Nope, scroll up.
Sorry, I'm not seeing it.
You're fine.
It's
Right
under Beechwood.
Oh, there it is. There it is. There it
Yes.
is. Okay.
Then that, click on that. That's going to show you what other folks see when they click on your event. So now we have 2 events up, and this is awesome. And I hope you will edit it for, if you want to change the time or the location or any of that stuff. So that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Just stop sharing your screen for 1 second. I'm going to go back to sharing mine. And oh, sorry. Just 1 second.
I would also say this is something I did fairly frequently. And so if folks run into trouble with, doing it, I'm very willing to help.
Yeah. And I just want to show you now.
And people should know I never did that before. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's not.
So when I go to this honk and wave now, there'll be 2 events there. There'll be the one that I set up, and there'll also be the one that Sue set up. So you can see on the map now, there's 2 dots. Magically, there's 2 dots. And as you guys put your events in, there'll be more dots as well. So we'd love to, and the reason to put it on here is so that, it's really important for you to share it to your friends and, invite your people and share it on social media, whatever. But the other thing is, if we share out this link, then folks in your neighborhood who don't have a connection with you will be able to find the event and will be able to come and sign up. And it should just be as low key as you want it. Honestly, show up. You can be there for half an hour if you want, hold up some honk and wave signs, hold up some of our yard signs, get some great pictures and tweet around so that we can show that it's not just people in Columbus who care about maps, fair maps. It's people all over Ohio. Okay, so if I go back to this screen, can you guys see the slides again now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. And I think Catherine is up to talk about the map-in. Let me just check I haven't skipped anything else.
So the kind of events that we've been talking about, the honk and wave, these are the kind of things that are all about kind of visibility, having a little bit of fun, and doing what we can to make sure that the public sees you and are thinking about fair maps. But also it's really important to share these things on social media. And it's important to think about well, how can we use this so that our elected officials are knowing that's what we're up to. So we wanted to plan, something that we could do all across Ohio, all at the same day. And I think it's super fun. But then we were also like, okay, this is interesting because Sue kind of made us think about this one too, because she was like, where do I go? Where do I put myself? Where in the state house do I attach myself and wait to be arrested? And I was like, well, maybe we could do, I don't know, some kind of sit-in. And this made me, so Jen and I were having this conversation, I'm like, oh, sit-in, what should we do? And Jen was like, oh, we could have a map in. And so this is not, I don't want to highlight, this is not the kind of direct action where we will all get into trouble. This is an event that is highly organized. We've actually reserved some space in the ladies gallery, which I kind of love. And so what we're hoping is that all over the State House, we will have different people creating maps, running into reporters, showing, hey, this is what we're up to, creating these district maps. Trevor Martin is going to work with the folks that got really comfortable with District R. And also for those folks that we know that have gotten super comfortable with Dave's redistricting app, we're just asking people to come and find places in the State House to draw some district lines. We'll all take pictures in the map room. If you've been to the State House, there's that wonderful map room. And it's just another way to do visibility. And this is the final stretch. As you know, the deadline is November 30th. This is a point that reporters are starting to run out of new angles on things. So this is also visibility. It's another opportunity to do things, give reporters a new angle and just highlight how much we all care about this. And it should be fun.
Yep. And if anyone, we're going to be calling around to all the community map makers. So if you were a community map maker, watch out for this. We'll have a way to sign up because we'd love to get your help. And you'll be basically there to help folks who haven't made maps before to be kind of facilitators. And next slide, Catherine.
Oh, so this one, I bet you've seen this slide before. I want to encourage you all. We still have postcards, and so I would encourage you. This is the point that writing to the Joint Committee, we know exactly who they are. Mia just updated the instructions on the postcards, so I'm going to encourage you, to get out a pen and send them a note. The other thing that I wanted to highlight is there are still Fair Districts yard signs, and so. Please, if you have, I don't know, some of them are worse for wear. In fact, one of my yard signs is just sad looking and fell apart. So if you find yours is in bad shape, this is time to order a new one and coordinate a new one. And so please do that. And then Mia, if you'll move to the next one, I just wanted to remind you that sadly, we don't thrive on air. And so, please, consider making a contribution. We're very much appreciative. And then finally, if Mia's willing to move us along, we have some upcoming events. So I just wanted to remind you about the Twitter storm. So we're talking about a Twitter storm on Friday during the time period of the hearing. So we'll be sending you some follow-up information. And also, this is the time for you to take a picture with your, with your Fair District sign. Anything we can do to kind of personalize this and to be clear that all of the different kinds of people and people from different places that really care about fair districts. Then we have the honk and wave, just to remind you, we have the map in. And then last but not least, we have a poll that we're going to do because we're coming to December and we could, in fact, do our usual get together via Zoom, share some war stories. But we thought it might be fun to actually have a party. And Mia, are you going to throw a poll in for us?
I am trying, but it's refusing to respond. I'm clicking on it and nothing is happening.
Is it possible you need to remove the slide?
I don't think so, but I will try. I will stop sharing and I will try to, oh, there we go. Hold on. I did create a poll. I know I created a poll. It says I didn't create a poll. I will very quickly create a poll, but I know that I did before. And Catherine knows it too, because
I was part of it. So one of the things that's interesting about this discussion today is the number of kind of technological things that we talked about, whether it was Dave's redistricting app or, the process of doing an action network. Thank you, Sue. Just noticed that she said she donated. Michael Ahern was asking about Ann Fisher. So these are the kinds of things that we should all be thinking about. And if you have ideas about how it is that we can, in fact, you know, get together, participate, do some visibility things. I am going to pick in person because I love a party.
It's an anonymous poll, people. This is the sanctity.
This is like anonymous voting. You don't have to tell us who you voted for, but you can.
But we do want you to vote if you possibly can. Only 22 out of 53 people have voted. 41% participation. Let's get our participation rate up.
Well, sadly, we would need to do the party in Columbus. And this is one of the challenges. You know, I realize the center of the state it seems to work out the best for everyone. Now, it could be that we decide to have separate parties. So like there might be some different ways to think about how to make this workable for folks.
And the other thing is we can, you know, do a party later in the future is also another possibility. Well, I am seeing 75% participation, and we have a clear win for the Zoom, I would say. So we will have a wild and crazy Zoom meeting in December. And there are all kinds of ways to make Zoom meetings wild and crazy. So we will work on that, and we will try to Zoom and in person is possible, but it's a little tricky. So we'll think about that, but we can also do in person in the future. And I think that is, I'm sharing the results. Sorry, you guys should be able to see the results now. I imagine that you can see them because I can see them. So yeah, so a clear preference for Zoom, but maybe in the future we will do something in person. I think that was really it. My last slide was just saying thank you to everyone for coming this evening. I really appreciate it. And you will get these slides, you'll get all the information, you'll get the information about the honk and wave. You'll get information about submitting testimony. Are there any questions? Could you put the Twitter slide up again? I will put the Twitter slide up again for a second here. Hold on, I need to just, Catherine, are there other questions that folks have that we should answer while I'm looking for my slide?
I will look for questions, unless you want to raise your hand.
Yeah, folks should feel free to, so this is the Twitter.
I like Kathleen is like, we should have a party in Centerville.
This is the Twitter information, Friday, 10:30. The hashtags we are using are just fair maps and end gerrymandering Ohio. And, you know, if you're looking for those hashtags, if you search for those hashtags, one thing you can do if you don't really want to tweet, you can just search for those hashtags and you can just retweet what everyone else is tweeting. Party in Lima, the deadline for the postcards, you know, the maps have to be, you know, this week, really next week at the latest, because these guys, you know, I wouldn't send them after this week, or yeah. Postcards.
So when we send the follow-up, there will be a form that you can click and you can order some postcards.
Yeah.
And then we'll try to figure out who closest to you actually has those cards.
Yeah. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm just going to say thank you to everyone. Are there any other questions? Anything? Tomorrow's Veterans Day, no mail pickup. Okay.
And postcards do take sometimes longer than first class mail. On the other hand, those postcards aren't doing any good as bookmarks in your house.
That's true. Some of you probably have postcards already, and all we should really be saying is get them in the mail. Thank you so much. Oh, and one thing I didn't talk about, I'm seeing Jean Henderson there, and one thing I didn't talk about, which I meant to, and I hope in the next couple of days to send out an email. a lot of you have been part of the Speakers Bureau, and Jean and I were talking about how this is a really good time for folks who were part of a Speakers Bureau to get back in touch with people who you spoke with earlier and kind of let them know where things are, like how things have worked out with the General Assembly maps and what's happening with the congressional maps, and encourage them to kind of remain active. Anyone who's involved at all with Speakers Bureau, we hope that you'll kind of, think about that. We have updated the speakers slides. We've updated the follow-up information, all of that kind of stuff. So we're doing our best to kind of keep everything fresh. So with that, I will say good night and many, many thanks to all of you, and you'll get a follow-up tomorrow. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, good night. Goodbye. Farewell.